which I do for most forged knives, because I like to leave a lot of the forge finish, so getting a nice straight tang is probably a little bit hard. But I generally start. I hate tongs. If you want to get a set of tongs, get a set of these. They're pretty much my favourite tongs, because once I cut off the end from my last knife, and save yourself the effort, always cutting at an angle. Just saves you the fish lips. If you forge down that, you always, sometimes you get fish lips at the end. So once I forge down the tang, then that's the only pair of tongs that I like to use, because nothing slips when you're holding them. I think Gamaco sells these, that's where I got mine. But it's such a firm grip. They're good. Definitely invest in a set of those. But I'll pass around what I'm kind of aiming for. I do forge a little bit after this. I don't bother getting rid of scale, because it's a few seconds that I could be hitting the steel. So when I get to this stage, after that I soak in vinegar or whatever, do whatever you have to do to get rid of the scale, and then I forge it at much lower temperatures and get it even thinner. But that's not everyone's cup of tea, forging it really thin. So once you get to this stage, you're probably pretty good to go. But yeah, just pass that around, have a look. It's not perfect, there's a couple of things wrong with it, but that's alright. It's all learning. So that's what I'm aiming for. So yeah, generally I'll start with my bar. I've already cut in here with my hot cutter tool at home, because I didn't know what Ryan had. And I like my cutter tool because it's on a 45-degree angle. So I've already started, essentially, squishing down the tang. So first I'll be hitting it pretty much here and just drawing out the tang, just using the edge of the anvil to draw that out. I don't really know exactly what I do, because I'm self-taught. So if as soon as I put this back in the forge after hitting it a little bit, you guys can ask me a few questions while it reheats. But we'll see how we go. This is probably also going to get way too hot. That's alright. So I pretty much I have way more hammers than this, but my most used one is a bigger one than this, but it tires me out really quickly because I don't forge often enough. I haven't forged for a couple of months, so I probably get real tired and look really weak in front of you all. So this is a 3-pound hammer. Yeah, roughly a 3-pound hammer, which I really enjoy. I can swing this for a very long time. This one is just some old cheapie that I found somewhere, and I ground diagonal pins into it. So I can draw stuff out and then flip it over and draw things the other way as well. That's really handy. I really like that hammer, as opposed to just using the cross peen, which, I don't know, it's alright, but as soon as you try to draw it out that way, it's a little bit annoying, but to each their own. So they're the things that I like to use. So once I start drawing this out, I'll pass around what I'm trying to get to, the tang at least. This is what I'll be aiming for. So that'll be what I'm getting to. Once this actually heats up, I don't think my forge was quite long enough, so you can just... has anyone got any questions already, or it's not really that complicated, it's all pretty simple. Yes, Ross?
So what size stock do you generally start with?
So I like to start with whatever that is. I think it's 38mm by 5mm maybe. Say if you want to save yourself a little bit of stress, you can start with thinner stock, but I really like to start at thicker and really get a nice distal taper all the way to the tip, which you can probably see on that. I prefer to get as thick as you can, even 6mm, because it just really accentuates that taper, especially because I like to leave all that forge finish across the top. So I hate grinding and sanding, so I'll do as little as possible and leave as much of the forge finish as I can at the top. So I tend to, when I forge out Damascus and stuff, I start with 6mm thick billets by 30mm or 32mm. and then forge that down. I find that's a pretty good size that I can really draw the heel down and get it, yeah, pretty much to 50. I'm aiming for like 50 mil depth, give or take, depending if it's, this is a slightly smaller kind of knife, so I don't care if it's not quite 50 mil deep. Actually with my forge, similar brand I think to Brian's, except I stopped using it for a fair while because I didn't like the fact that I couldn't adjust the oxygen ratio to gas. So not long ago I put these little plates on there, you can slide up and down, because I like to forge in a relatively rich environment, which I think probably helps with less like decarb and maybe less scale, but it works for me. Like, there's not one way of doing things, but I like the way I've done it and it works. And yeah, I'll find out. I might leave it now. I'll find out how good these gloves are. I didn't realise. Where's another pair of tongs? Anyone? I didn't realise how short this bar was getting when I last. Yeah, have you got another set of tongs, Ryan, you reckon? This bar is probably going to be way too short to forge it like this. Because I don't have a little one or stand to like hold the length of thanks for that.
No worries. There's a couple sets though somewhere.
Yeah.
That should be there.
Right. So it turns out starting with a bar of steel isn't foolproof. You will need another pair of tongs. Were they better? Yeah, no, these will suit. I also like to forge in a darker workshop. See the colours nicely, but obviously you also need to be able to see your tools. But I tend to just turn the light on somewhere in my shed far away. And then, yeah. Alright. A lot hotter than that. So you probably noticed I also hit the sides, which might seem counterintuitive to trying to draw it a little bit, but you don't want the sides to, well, you saw it'll bowl a little bit as you hit the top. You want to make sure it's flat, otherwise you end up with cold shuts and stuff. So yeah, even when you're hitting it, the tops and the bottom, you still want to hit it on the sides as well. Just keep it all in nice straight. Otherwise you run into issues. Hopefully when my forge actually gets up to temperature, which shouldn't be too long, it'll heat up the steel a bit quicker. I haven't been forging too much lately because I was finishing knives off and then started annual leave, so I need to not be weak anymore.
What's that?
I mean,
Annual leave. What's that?
Contrary to popular belief, I don't do knives in my spare time. I've been doing hammers instead, actually, more recently.
Where's the first one?
Yeah, went to the first one. So I'll pass around the first one first, so then you can see how. Alright, so at first glance it might not look that bad, but then you look at the eye, and you look at how wonky it is, and you just look at how ugly it is, and then you realise it's not a very good hammer. Like I wouldn't even want to use that in my own workshop because I'd be afraid that someone might see it.
That's why I go for all my shit for
So this is my second hammer, which is a little bit better. I got a little bit of advice from a couple of guys in Perth when I was over there for the Perth Knife Show. Adam Fromholtz, he does a few hammers, along with some really specky other stuff. But he gave me a couple tips, and that helped a lot. So hopefully I'll be making a lot more hammers in the future as well. Because as soon as I got a press, that was something that I wanted to do for whatever reason. So it's starting to get there. I taper my tanks. One of my demo pieces that I'll pass around in a second, probably it's got a straight tang because I was going to do just a Japanese like wire handle with like the 2 pieces or 3 pieces with a dowel through the middle, which you might be familiar with. So you do it just a straight, like either 12 or whatever size dowel you have is the depth of the tang. But with my hidden tang knives that I like to use 1 piece of wood. I taper the tang, and then when I go to drilling and scratching out the little hole, I drill 2 holes that are tapered, fits the same specs as the tang that I've already forged and ground, and I just hollow it all out. So I mostly just do little tapered tangs. Works well. So I think this tank's probably getting close. I still need to thin it out because I've it's a fair bit thicker than what the rest of the stock is. So this is where this one comes in. So I'm always flipping it because you want to forge both sides as evenly as possible. Probably not as important with mono steel stuff, but as soon as you want to be forging San Mai, Damascus, I guess as well, you want to be forging both sides as evenly as possible. Otherwise, you're going to get just off-center core material, or I don't know. Damascus on one side might be just straight lines, and the other side's got all nice little swirls and patterns in it. I don't know. I haven't not hit one side to find out, but you want to also work it evenly as well, because the side that you're working a lot, you're putting under a lot of stress as well. So you want to even up the stresses, I guess, as well. All right. I reckon this will be the last one, and then I might even just skip to my next piece. Then I don't have to use a nasty angle grinder, which are the devil, along with borax. So this anvil's a lot flatter than mine, because usually when I hammer one side it's got a dish, so everything just curls up. It's nice. But like that's kind of getting there. I could taper it even more, but yeah, that's alright. I usually aim for the length of that. I can't remember what I was saying, but
You're talking about the tapering. You're talking about the tapering.
oh yes, thank you. I have a very one-track mind. I can only do one thing at a time. So you could taper it a lot more, but I usually look for like my handles are generally on kitchen knives around 5 inches long. So I usually aim for like 3/4 of that. So if my tank's 3.5 inches, 4 inches long, that's usually what I aim for. So yeah, usually I'll just keep on drawing it out till it's that length. And then if you want to leave a little bit of thickness this way, because you still want to go around with the grinder to get your final shape, it's better to forge slightly bigger and oversize it. Don't worry too much about trying to get perfect shape. Sometimes it's nice to get a really nice forged shape though, so I can't blame you if you want to. But yeah, again, the less grinding the better, in my opinion. Where's that handy? So on the next one, I've cut, this is a part I skipped, I've cut on an angle. So about there. However high up, whatever size stock you got, depending on what kind of knife. And when you're working with unfamiliar stock sizes, it's a bit of experimentation and guesswork. I don't get too hung up on trying to get 20 of exactly the same 20 centimeter chef's blades. But I think I've cut it about there. But depending how thin you forge it as well, it depends how big it's going to get. So yeah, cutting it on an angle helps a lot. Trying to forge it down to a point, it's just more work, unnecessary as well.
What steel are you using then?
This is W2. I use a lot of 1095 as well, but I started using W2 for just the mono steel blades, just because they get nice little Hammonds if you want to go that way. 1095 works really well as well, but 1080 works fine as well. Everything still works really good. Yeah, but they all have their advantages and disadvantages. W2 is probably a little bit harder to work than 1095, I think. But yeah, 1095 I used for a long time. It works really well. Yeah. But if you wanted to start with thinner stock, I think I was using 4 and 3mm thick stock. You don't really need to worry too much about thinning it down. You just, yeah, just getting the right shape and good to go really. But there's a lot less hammering involved. But like I said before, I like to get that nice distal taper. So now I want to basically get my pre-form or pre-shape, so this is the one that I haven't tapered the tank down. I pretty much want to get to that. So by hitting, that's the next step. I'm going to get to there. Your pre-shape will change a lot. I figured out the way I forge things really thin. I know that this pre-shape works, but if you're doing hunting knives and that kind of thing and you're hammering in the bevels as well, you really got to point the tip down, otherwise the more you hammer in the bevels you're going to get a nice banana. But because I start tapering my kitchen knives from here down to like 2mm by here, it's pretty much the shape that I forge here is going to be the shape by the end as well. And I get my edges down to like 1.5mm. That's generally what I aim for, but again, I'm going for the forge finish along the spine, so it's really not necessary. But you can pass that around. That's what I'm aiming for. well, it's what I would be aiming for if I don't just skip to that after a few hits because I'm tired. So I'll just hit this down. Notice when my hammer blows start to slow down, it means I'm getting terrible forearms. Except I'll look ripped though.
Donuts. You got to eat more donuts.
So I find
Tonight.
I've found with my kitchen knives as well, the way I forge them, I sometimes get a bulge here a little bit. So I've kind of got a bit of recurve right there. Yeah, I'll probably draw this one out a little bit so it's not fat on the edge, otherwise I'll just run into the same issues as if I hadn't got pre-shape. After the pre-shape, the first thing I do is draw the heel down, and then I kind of know that I've got enough material there already, and then I move on to the rest of the blade. So you can pass that one around as well. I might be up to that point relatively soon. Might not even bother skipping to the other one that's around there. I don't really like it anyway. They're not all the same knife though as well. They're all different because I didn't want to make 5 of the same thing because I need a little bit of variety. I don't make that many knives to be able to sell 10 in a month. I wish, but yeah. So I've got this. That's why they're all a little bit different. That one will be a lot longer than this one. That'll work out to be like over a 20 centimeter probably. This one will be probably similar size to that one. We'll find out. So I reckon we'll start drawing the heel down on that one. I think I'm happy enough with it to get to the next stage. So that's where this one comes in handy. Actually, I think this one's also got a lot less, this is really aggressive. This one's a little bit more subtle, which is nice. Especially on this one, you catch the corners, it doesn't look heaps pretty. Questions?
Do you grind the spine of your blade, or just leave it as a forged to handle surface finish?
I'd love to leave it as is, but I do just grind it dead flat. So this one's probably not too bad. I might be able to do that.
Yeah.
Not that I have before, but yeah, I just tend to grind my spine perfectly flat. and then this bottom is always there. I usually draw a straight line from there to the tip, and then I just kind of wing it with just a free hand. It's just a gentle curve. Like the Japanese style is more of a gradual curve along the whole blade, whereas your European has much more belly in it, so you can like rock and stuff. But yeah, I just like the Japanese style. I think that's a bit of the craze at the moment, but I've always had before I was into knives as well. So yeah, that answers your question. Yeah. But once I've profiled all that, then I use the top flat edge as a reference for then grinding in the little shoulders for the tang, and then I grind like a few mil off the top, a few mil off the bottom, down to like 3 mil, or it depends what size drill bit you're using for the depth, the thickness of your blade. I'll make those two holes meet down here, and then that's a bit of a process in itself though as well that I've come to, but starting to get there. What's the next stage? Oh, apparently this is the next stage. So it's just a lot of hammering after that. But yeah, I try and get it down to, if it's 4 or 5 mil at the tang, drop down to 2 mil by the middle of the spine, down to 1 mil on the tip, and then mostly 1.5 mil along the edge. That's what I aim for. But if you're just going to be grinding off everything, like Ross got some nice knives that he forged the other day. I think we left it at like 2 or 3 mil along the spine, or it tapered from like 3 mil down to 1.5 mil by the tip, and then just grinding off the decarb on the edges and showing off the Damascus pattern. Ross is going to pass around his expert knife. It looks much prettier than mine.
Just as a little point while they're passing the knives around, you're saying about cutting things off at a 40 or 45 degrees, whatever.
Yeah.
If you use the bar, you can actually overlap the tips. If you've got 2 patterns, you can overlap them and just cut them through with an angle grinder. You can fudge an inch and a half.
You can definitely do that. I like to hold on when the bar's longer, not like it was before. When it's longer, I like to hold the bar and forge the tang first. But if you want to forge the tip first, by all means go for it. There's no bad way of doing it. I think I just had a bad experience forming the tip first and just didn't end well at all.
Tip in first.
Yeah, don't put the tip in first. Yeah, but yeah, you can do the tip first if you really want. There's nothing wrong with that. There's many ways to skin a cat, except I like cats. Don't be afraid to, if your shape's getting a little bit wonky, it's better to be hitting it on the edge and on the spine before it gets too out of hand. It'd be great to be able to forge a knife from finish without touching your pre-shape at all, but desperate times call for desperate measures, but you want to get ahead of that before it gets too out of control, otherwise you yeah, you're trying to chase a really thin blade that's like looks like that. Trying to upset the depth of the blade when it's 2 mil thick. It's just going to like crumble rather than squish. Which I'll probably end up having one anyway because it's going a little funny, I think. I will find out. I like to bend my tip down a little as well. So I have a mostly flat spine, but then the tip just drops down a little bit. So that's pretty much it. But you can keep watching me if you want. Just watching me slave away. Any other questions at all? Or? Thanks. Or it was all very comprehensive, expertly presented, not winged at all.
How does heat treating W2 work for you?
Same as 1095 pretty much. Yeah.
K-quench or?
Yep. So I use K-quench, Horton's K-quench. Yeah. And I've got a kiln, but a forge will work perfectly well if you have a nice little thermocouple to shove in there. Or yeah, W2 and 1095, you don't want to wing it too much. You want that nice long soak time. Well, long meaning 5 minutes, 10 minutes, depending how thick your blade is. And then taking it out, and then you've got a couple seconds, and then just dunk it real quick and move it in the quench oil as well. Cutting, never do this in the oil, otherwise you're just inviting things to happen. Yeah, and like no matter what you do, you might have a warp anyway. But
one of the things just on the quenching, I don't know. I do it because I've seen it on TV or whatever. But when you're quenching in your oil, right? If you quench north and south, since the thing's non-magnetic when you put it into the quench, right? It doesn't make much difference. You're just sticking it in a deep tub.
yeah, I've got the deep thin one. Yeah.
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 So,
I don't do too much.
A bit of grease.
Yeah, I don't do too much edge quenching. And like the thing with heat treating is there's a lot of superstition around it as well. But yeah, whatever works for you. If it works, don't change it. Like that's what I was saying with my Damascus. I've been doing the same process for the last 6 months since I got my press, and I've done it the same way. And I'm pretty sure I'm doing it the slow way, but it works, and I don't want to change it. I will probably make that process a bit more efficient one day, but for now it works, and I don't want to fix it. A little bit more respectable. Still got a straight spine, which is nice, and starting to get a distal taper, but I still want to take a lot more out of here, through there, and then the whole edge I want to thin down a lot more as well. So it's still probably going to stretch out up to here. But like I said before as well, this stage isn't quite finished, so I still want to thin this one down as well. But at much lower temperatures and not as much scale forms as well, so when I hammer it out the second time it'll be a lot smoother as well, because at the moment this has got a lot of scale build up, which makes it look old and crusty, which is nothing wrong with that. But yeah, you can clean off the scale with your brush if you want. This one is much cooler than mine because it's big, and it's also a lot more hardcore, but they work well. But yeah, I find that if I'm scrubbing that, and I have to put it on the anvil, otherwise it bends over a little bit as well, and then I lose half my heat by the time I do that. So I just chuck in a vinegar bath at the end, and then hammer it some more and get it nice and smooth. Anvil has a nice ring to it as well. If you want to reduce your anvil noise, and you've got a nice permanent spot to put your anvil in, I've got a big stump or multiple like pine things, and screw them all together, and then I put a heap of silicone on the ground, put it down there, and it hasn't moved since, and it never will. But it sends all the, probably the bad thing is it sends all the vibrations through the foundation, which is quite finish. Makes a good, nice, low thump, as opposed to a ring. I also silicone the anvil to the stump, and then the stump to the floor. And also, because I'm a bit more residential, I also put chains around it and put magnets on it. And I don't think that's done anything, but I've tried. So the neighbour actually, I said to the neighbour, or my grandma did, I think, or my mother, either one. They said to the neighbour, "Oh, I hope you don't mind my grandson making a heap of noise." And she was like, "Oh no, I actually find it really therapeutic." So if you find one of those neighbours, don't ever move. Because I don't know how the other side feels, but yeah, I think I should keep it. My edge is a little bit flat, which I'm not as happy about. But everything else, probably because I can get if I hit my edge and thin that right down, this spine's gonna banana up again. So I'll probably hit it along the edge a lot more, thin down the edge. Hopefully that fixes that. I'll use this one again to do that as well. I think I normally forge at lower temperatures than this, but for the sake of speed as well, get a bit hotter, don't have to sit it in the forge for as long. I get less of a break in between so I can get back in shape as well. So was the hammer, the first one, as ugly as what I said it was?
Yeah, the eye is.
It'll still work.
It'll work, you just won't hammer straight.
Just use that as your hand, the other way, as a counteract.
It's actually,
siliconizing your anvil.
yep.
Jason Knight has got a posting on the internet, forging a knife without a power hammer, something like that.
Yep.
And he had a three-legged anvil stand.
Yep. They sit nice and flat.
And he siliconized it to the floor, and I guess he had a copious bead of silicon around the foot of the anvil, and that was really quiet.
Yeah.
Really, really quiet.
You won't completely get rid of the ring because some anvils just ring more than others, just depending on the shape. But yeah, that's.
Or you hit it on the tail.
Yeah, that's right. These are always they're gonna make a lot more noise. I don't tend to use the horn too much. You can use that for drawing out actually. as opposed to the edge. The edge is very aggressive. These ones are a bit nicer and crisper than mine, so I can just use the edges here. Hitting it on the edge will draw it out, or you can hit it on here, that'll draw it out, or if you want to get real aggressive, you can draw it out that way as well. But again, it makes more noise too. There's a lot less, there's a lot more mass directly under here as well, so you might find your hits, hitting it here, you get a lot more rebound as well out of your hits, which makes a big difference, especially when the blade gets thinner. Yeah. That's making it bending out nicely. I still got to wash my thickness though. And I'll probably work the other side next a bit more. Is anyone else sweating? No. Oh, it's just me. This is definitely a winter job. I'm looking forward to it. As soon as I get back from my annual leave, it's the blade's heating up a lot quicker now as well, which is nice because it's just so thin. Actually really happy with how this is turning out because I was just about having nightmares last night that I was going to be forging in front of you all and it looked really ugly and bad and everyone would be like, oh, who's this guy? He doesn't actually know what he's doing. Generally I try and avoid public speaking. This isn't really public speaking though because I can just look at the floor and at my work and just pretend that I'm just talking to myself.
Don't worry, mate, I'll hear you playing.
I think probably knife makers in general, probably a bit more reclusive than your average person, because you really got to dig to find them as well. Because I reckon I get a lot of people through my shop, and they always ask, oh, this is a pretty rare art, it's a bit of a dying art form. I'm like, no, they're around, you just got to dig for them, you got to find them in all their backyards and everything. You got to really... it's amazing how much interest has come with the internet as well. It's also at this stage where I'd love to have a power. Just a little one. I only want a little one, but I don't know if the neighbour that loves me, she loves me at the moment, but I don't know if she'd still love me if I had a power hammer. Yeah, maybe it's a little 15 kilo Hanyang one, or make a little tire power hammer, which I've heard really good as well for a fraction of the cost. I like to make my own. I like to make all my own things as well. There's something about making a tool and then using it yourself. Like I made my grinder and I made my forge. I didn't make this forge because I bought this one probably close to like 8 years ago, and then I put it away because I couldn't adjust the air, and I wasn't smart enough to figure out that it was a really simple fix. So yeah, a lot of the stuff I use is made myself, except my press. My press is not made myself because I was starting to feel like anything under 25 tons of pressure probably shouldn't be done by an amateur. I'll leave that to the professionals. But a tyre hammer, that's only 15 kilos. The worst it can do is like fly off and hit something, or me. this one's much more aggressive, so I don't need to hit really hard. I probably stretch it a little bit more, and I reckon I'm just about done. Might move a little bit more space. I reckon I need to walk in this thing. Start the measuring tape around me, just open somewhere so I can actually check my measurements. It's always nice, but that's not really essential unless you're actually aiming for something. Ask you, they shall provide.
Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door will be opened.
Actually, alright. So I just wanted a bit. That's alright. That's good. So the reason I bought my own forge is because every forge is different. I know the quirks of this one. It's got 2 burners, so there's a slight, there's 2 hot spots here, which you don't get as much if you have a burner going on an angle circulating around the forge, but there's a slight cool spot in the middle. So, but if I was using Ryan's, I wouldn't know what to do. Probably. So it's probably also good to move your blade around a little bit before you. I reckon I'm happy with that, centimeters. But the tang is kind of doing its own thing. So I want to flatten that. I think if I just put it across here, I'll just tap in there. That might bring it down. Maybe tap on the heel a little bit after that. There's probably other ways of doing it as well. You can probably just chuck it in a leg vise or something and bend it down. I'll probably use a light smush it. You just want to bend it. Yes. It's got a nice grip here. You come.
It's got a round side and a flat side. Feel privileged that not let people touch those hammers.
This is like, this has got a long enough handle to be a weapon.
Oh, that's the idea.
Don't come knocking and here in my 10 p.m. Also, just hitting it there as well. Bend it back down. That's almost. That's pretty much good. And I've got a little bit of extra meat around there and on there as well. So when I just grind that spine straight, I've got a little bit there. So that's pretty much it. You can kind of have a suss.
Oh, hey, you like show it to the.
Oh, I'm not used to
Lights.
this whiz bang. Oh, you know what? I'll grab the actual better. So the lighting will be pretty average, but not straight, but it's relatively thin and where I want it. So once it cools down, I'll actually like get my fingers on it and feel where all the thick parts are and what needs to happen from there as well. So I don't just go from start to finish straight away. I want to make sure that I'm happy with every part of the process. And then once I know where it needs to move, I'll forge it at lower temperatures after soaking in vinegar, and yeah. Then once it's nice and thick, go to the next stage. I'll grind out the profile. I tend to heat treat it at full thickness because my forging's relatively okay. I don't have any crazy thin spots that will just like go like that in the quench or crack or anything like that. So then yeah, I'll heat treat it full thickness, temper it back, and then I'll start the grinding. And then because it's forged, I tend to not scribe a line in the middle too much because it's not dead straight all the time. That's always just a fun process in itself as well. But I can talk about the rest of the process for days. But that's the start. Hopefully you've learned something from it. It'll work, like I said, it'll work on any kind of hidden tank knife, I guess. You just got to work on that pre-form, or leave it at full thickness and just get the shape that you want, and then stock removal from there. There's nothing wrong with that as well. But because I like to do as little grinding as possible, I love forging, so I'll do that all day as opposed to sitting in front of a grinder getting real nasty, dead hair and grit and everything everywhere. And then hand sanding, everyone knows about hand sanding, so as little as possible. But yeah, that's it.